Last season, Spurs were one of the main challenges for Arsenal and Manchester City at the start of the season and held the top spot in October. But as what happened with many Premier League teams, they got some massive injuries and ended up dropping off. And they were challenging for a Champions League space all season, but Aston Villa pipped it to them in fourth spot. Now, that is something I have not managed to replicate here on Football Manager. We are going to be in the Champions League, which I suppose is great fun. But other than that, we're doing a full realism, one-season rebuild with Postecoglu tactics, an attacking variant, a defensive variant, and the standard, and making realistic transfers, and to see if we can make Spurs challengers for the Premier League again. And of course, with Spurs, this is a great team. We have the likes of Heung-min Son, James Maddison, Dejan Kulusevski, who is one of my favourite players in the Premier League to watch, a magical player on the ball, a great young midfield with Pape Matar, who has taken leaps and bounds in the last few years, and Rodrigo Bentancur, a decent backline as well, again, great on the age side of things, Destiny Udogie, Mickey Van de Ven, Cristian Romero, and Pedro Porro, with Vicario in goal, who I think surprised a lot of people last season and was actually top notch. Now, in terms of the side, there is a few positions I'm looking to improve on. A brand new left winger, a brand new centre back to back up Van de Ven and Romero alongside Dragusin, and a brand new right back to back up Pedro Porro. We are, of course, looking to end the trophy drought here at Spurs as well. So this season, there is a massive sort of part to play in the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. We are looking to win one of them, and you never know, maybe even a Premier League. I hardly doubt a Champions League. If we were in the Europa League, they're giving myself an easier chance at winning it. But as mentioned, we are going to be in the Champions League. It is very hard to simulate England teams doing rubbish in the Europe like they've done in real life, because Spurs were very unlucky to miss out on Champions League football. Now, in terms of transfers, we have got a lot of money to spend, but we're not going to be spending all of it. We're going to be keeping this in full realism. In terms of a few targets I have got shortlisted, we have the likes of Federico Chiesa, Eberechi Eze, and Pedro Neto. On the left wing spot, they are who we're looking at. And at right back, it's Michael Kyoto, the young Fiorentina man, has been linked with Spurs in real life and could be an option to bring in here, as well as these three as our left winger. There is something to mention that will happen, and it is completely out of my control. In the update I've got, Timo Werner is on loan to Spurs till the end of the 24 season. In real life, that's the end of the 25 season. I'm going to try my hardest to bring him back in. It's not going to happen, sadly. He doesn't want to come here and speak to the club. So we're going to have to move on without Timo Werner as well, and hopefully we can still have a very strong side. I don't think we're missing too much, to be honest. Let's see what transfers I did make. Well, first off, with outgoings, we have sold Bryan Gil to RB Leipzig. He is leaving in real life, I believe, to Girona. That's already done. Manuel Solomon to Borussia Dortmund, Sergio Reguilon to Al Ittihad, and Jed Spence to Real Hispalas. £50 million raised means we've got a whole load of money to go and spend. And our first signing is that brand new right back to cover Pedro Porro. I think Michael Kyoto is a superstar. On FM, he grows to be one of the best right backs every single time. In this one, he's really got a cap for Italy as well. I'm sure he's been smashed in at Fiorentina in real life. That's why he's linked to a Premier League move. And we've picked him up here at Spurs. Quite expensive at £37.5 million, but if he grows into the player he can be, it's not that bad at all for a right back. And signing number two, I think more than makes up for it in value for money. It's Pedro Neto from Wolves for just £31 million. Now, Pedro Neto is one of my favourite players to watch in the Premier League. It is such a shame he has had his big sort of issues of injury, because when he's on form, when he's not injured, he is unbelievable to watch. 17 dribbling, 16 flair, and fantastic physicals. His finishing and lights out. He's consistent. He loves big matches. He is just injury prone. But I think in this Spurs side, where we've got a lot of very good wingers, he will get the rotation he needs and hopefully will become a superstar. One of the standout players from the Euros was Ferdi Kadioglu. The young Turkish fullback can play right or left. He's coming in here to be a backup left back. Coyote is the backup right back, and he can play either or. He's absolutely fantastic. Great pace, great defensive stats, and again, it's linked to a Premier League move, so it seems like quite a good option. And the final signing, which was out of my control, but we'll go into the 21s, is Luka Vuskovic. The young Croatian centre-back is 17 and has joined Spurs in real life. A very exciting transfer. Now, the free tactics we have got now look completed with a full 11 and a full backup 11. We have Vicario in goal with Forster as the backup, Pedro Porro at right back with Coyote as the backups, with Romero and Mickey van der Ven as our two centre-backs, with Ben Davies and Dragusin as our centre-backs. Left back is Destiny Adoji and Vejli Kadioglu. In midfield, it's Pape Mateta and Rodrigo Bentancur, with the backups being Archie Gray, a very exciting signing from Leeds, and Yves Bissouma. Kulusevski on the right-hand side, Pedro Neto on the left-hand side, of James Maddison in the cam role, being backed up by Brennan Johnson, Richarlison, and I have called up Lucas Bergvall to be the backup rather than going to get someone to replace Timo Werner. And finally, it's Heung-min Son up front with the backup of Alejo Velij. Now, Spurs could bring in a backup striker in real life, but everywhere I looked, I couldn't see many links to many strikers, so we've had to give that one a miss for now. And we're going into the season with this team. Now, in terms of the season, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Champions League, and Premier League, we are predicted to come in 6th place. They're predicting Newcastle to have a nice, mighty rise, and Chelsea as well. We are looking to break into that top 4, and to be honest, I'd quite like to battle both Arsenal and City for the Premier League table, and that would be fantastic. See if we can take it to them. We might even win it. You never know. These 3 tactics we have got are at their very foundation stage. We're making these a lot better as we go throughout the video. There is a 4-3-3 and 2 4-2-3-1s. Once we have perfected these, I will show you them normally around the sort of January spot. You can see these tactics and they're available on the Patreon down below. We'll get into that in just a little bit. Let's kick off this season. And as you guys know, with these one season rebuilds, I do play every single game myself, and in the first game was up against Chelsea, and I was nervous for this one. I haven't used the tactics yet. Spurs, I know, are a difficult side. Chelsea challenging us for the top 4. 2-0 up in 15 minutes. And before halftime, the high-press Postecoglu system had paid off. It was 3-0 thanks to a screamer from Richarlison. We slowed things down, went to the defensive tactic, but that didn't stop us from grabbing a 4th in the 80th minute thanks to Dejan Kulusevski. Chelsea have been absolutely blown away. In game number 1, they had just 1 shot, 1 on target, with our 12 shots. A dominating display. Game 2 was just as good against Ipswich, who went in our all-out attack formation for this game, and goals from Richarlison and Romero made us 2-0 winners. But we crashed back down to reality after a red card from Mickey van der Ven, which is gutting, and a 1-0 loss to Brentford. Looks like Federico Kadioglu, a 5.9 in this game, didn't have his finest game, and for some reason we just couldn't beat Wolves. It was a 1-1 game, 23 shots, 9 on target, a 3.49 XG, but Jose Sarr had the game of his life and we drew 1-1. Now in the Premier League table, that puts us, to kick things off, in touch. We are 3 points on the top already, but the likes of Arsenal haven't had the greatest of starts on 6 points, United on 9, Villa, Wolves, Leicester, Southampton having great starts, but really we have just got started. Haaland, 9 goals in 4 matches. We're going to really struggle to win this Premier League title, but let's see what we can do. Let's get into the next couple of months of football. And well, sadly, our inability to score carried on. We lost 1-0 to Everton in the month of September, and it was time to make a few changes to the tactic as we went up next up against City. Now, we were the home team in this game, but I decided to play our defensive 4-3-3 to give it a whirl, and it worked rather well. 1-0 from a James Maddison penalty, and in the 72nd minute, Kulusevski got us off to 2-0 winners, and we absolutely battered them. They had more possession, but that's absolutely fine. We're there to sit back, be hard to beat, counter-attack, and that's exactly what we've done with a 2-0 victory. But in classic Spurs fashion, we beat a big team and then go and lose to Newcastle. Now, Newcastle, again, are challenging for top 4. This was an away leg. We are playing the defensive 4-3-3. Sadly, it just couldn't make that difference. We went 1-0 up thanks to James Maddison, but Fabian Schär and Alexander Isak made the game 2-1 to the tune. And well, entirely embarrassing staying in the northeast. We're out of the Carabao Cup. We lost to Sunderland. I mean, what's happened there? Joe Bellingham has scored and we've lost on penalties. We played a very rotated side, but even the likes of Gray, Bergvall, Velij, I expect to beat Sunderland, and it just didn't quite work out. It was an upset. And already, we're out of the Carabao. Luckily, vote up next was West Ham. And I say luckily, well, they actually got off to a pretty good start. And Lucas Paqueta scored in 13 minutes. We were in disarray. Another penalty from James Maddison, though, just 5 minutes later, made us on level terms. And yet again, later on into the game, the 80th minute, Pedro Porro, a great ball in. And Dejan Kulusevski scores again. I did not realise Kulusevski was going to be so instrumental into our season. I think he's fantastic in real life, but I've never really used him on FM. Safe to say, so far, he's been pretty fantastic. 13 games, 8 goals, 3 assists, 16 dribbling, outrageous physicals. If you've never used Kulusevski and he's not doing great at Spurs and you're safe, or if you are Spurs, use him. He is simply fantastic. And he's going to show that in this one as well. This time we're away from home against Aston Villa. One of the teams, again, we are battling for top 4. A screamer from Rodrigo Bentancur made it 1-0. Aston Villa are going to retaliate, however, in the 58th minute. John McGinn finds Kamara, another screamer, into that goal. It is a magnet for worldies, but in the 88th minute, the man we just spoke about, Dejan Kulusevski, is in the box, waiting for the ball to come in, and there he is to poke home. It's 2-1. We've beat West Ham, we've beat Villa, we are back on good form. And the final game of this little spell is going to be up against Leicester, and at the 89th minute, our Swedish hero came again. Kulusevski wins the game 3-2. A much tighter game, this one. We went all out attack for the whole game, and it didn't quite pay off. The all out attack is a bit dangerous. We haven't quite mastered it just yet. It's going to take a little bit of time, but a 3-2 victory. And in terms of the Premier League, again, we are inside of that top 4, just 4 points away from the league. City not exactly breaking clear. Looks like Haaland a great first 4, but his next 6, just 3 goals. Classic Haaland, probably scored hat-tricks against relegation sides. Always does. But not doing too bad in the Prem. What about the Champions League? Well, game 1 was away from home against Shakhtar, and we battered them 3-0. The 4 played up against Stade Brest, who had qualified, and 5-0, 65% possession. Kulusevski with a 9 rating and another goal in this game. 5 different goal scorers, an absolute demolition. And finally, a 2-0 victory over Club Brugge as well. So we are top of the league phase in the Champions League. A lot of teams on 9 points, but our goal difference is superior. So maybe we're going to win the Champions League. You never know. But back into the Premier League, we're up against Liverpool at home in a game that if we were to win, we would really stake a claim as title contenders. It was a 1-goal early advantage to us. Liverpool grabbed one from Wataru Endo, and it ended 1-1. I said that game was at home. It was actually away from home at Anfield. Again, though, the defensive 4-3-3 showing it's actually a very strong formation against the big sides, and maybe we've actually got that cracked. But at home against Manchester United, we fell down to an 83rd minute Mason Mount goal, and that's with United having 10 men as well. Sadly, 3 points dropped, I think. And another 2 points dropped as well after an 83rd minute Willian goal made Fulham 2-2 equalisers. But a victory here over Arsenal could put all disarray into doubt. A great ball in from Destiny Udogie, and Pedro Neto scores in the 30th minute. And we were really looking to take a commanding lead, as well as captain Heung-min Son finds Yves Bissouma to make it 2-0 in 50 minutes. We had our lead, but we didn't stop there. Pedro Neto finds Heung-min Son for 3-0 and a 4th as well. We've even got the kids on. Veliz is up top. He finds Pedro Porro in that inverted wing-back role, finding Son 4-0. London is white with Spurs, and we have smashed through Arsenal. Pretty much level on possession, but shots on target and RXG, we smashed them, and 4-0. An absolutely amazing victory. And then we go and drop points against Crystal Palace. I mean, what? Why? Why can we batter Arsenal 4-0? We beat Chelsea 4-0 at the start, but we drew 2 with Fulham. We drew 1-0 with Crystal Palace. The big London sides we can smash. The little ones is just not quite coming off. However, next up was a trip down to the south coast to see Brighton, and the reason I showed this game is because of a very exciting young Cam Bergvall. Got himself his first Spurs goal in this game, making it 1-0, and was instrumental all game, really showing why Spurs brought him. Another assist there, cutting it back into Pedro Neto, and the 3rd goal coming at half-time. He had nothing to do with that one, but a Heung-min Son screamer free kick, and we absolutely battered Brighton, and then drew to Southampton 2-2. I don't get it. I really am struggling as to why we are not winning every single game. We seem to be on the most up and down, topsy-turvy form. I'm going to be doing some tweaks to the tactic. You can see in the bottom right, I've started to do that already, but we need to really do it this time and get this tactic right, because as things stand, we keep winning games against the teams we should be, and then just randomly drawing and losing horrendous games. I mean, this one, we were saved by a 93rd minute Radu Dragus in goal. And when it just carried on, because we then beat Everton 4-1, but dropped points 1-0 at home against Nottingham Forest. It needs to be sorted out. Trust me, I'm working on it. We did then beat Bournemouth 2-1 and finished off our insanely busy December schedule with a 2-0 victory against Ipswich. So even though we have had this up and down form, we are still technically the second best team in the Premier League. Now we have played 2 more games than Manchester United, a few more, well, 1 more than Arsenal, who would still just be behind us, and 1 more than City. We're only 3 points off them, but they have got that game in hand. I don't know why we've been given this mental schedule. Probably because we crashed out the Carabao Cup straight away, I guess, wasn't it? So that'll be why. But as we can see, Champions League is also going very well. As we look here, we managed to beat Bayern Munich 1-0. Galatasaray we did lose 1-0 to, but beat Ferencvaros 2-0. So even like that, we beat Bayern Munich and then we lose to Galatasaray. Make it make sense. It's absolutely impossible to make sense out of. One thing I am going to do in this January window, we've got £135 million. And we're struggling to score goals. Data hub-wise, it looks okay, but 1.9 just isn't quite enough. And I think we need a brand new striker. And we hadn't quite joined in time for this one against Chelsea. It was a 0-0 draw. We could have really done with a good striker. But he had joined for the next game, and his name is Maximilian Beer. Again, this is a striker that has been linked to a Premier League mood. And I think he suits the Ange Postecoglou Spurs play a hell of a lot. Now, ignore the 2-star current rating, the 3-star potential rating. This guy really can be an absolute superstar in FM. He's got good finishing, great determination, 16 work rate, outrageous physicals, and good stamina. He is consistent. He likes big matches. He has been linked to the Premier League in real life, so I believe Villa and possibly even Spurs. We've got him for just 28 million so far this season in the Bundesliga. He scored 8 in 16. We've not really got a striker that can do that for us. Hopefully, he comes into the Premier League and does exactly that. It will take some time to get involved, but he is being involved pretty much straight away as our #1 striker. And he did play in this first game against Brentford. And I tell you what it gives us as well. It just gives us another rotational option, another piece of the puzzle to give maybe Son that little rest. Maybe Richarlison, who's been quite good this season, a little rest. And maybe we can just abuse Kulusevski a little bit more. I mean, Sarr, that's an absolute worldie for 2-0 in 47 minutes. And we are going to grab a third here as well. You can see Son coming on late, finding Maddison to find Pedro Neto to make it 3-0. An absolute smashing of Brentford. And we are getting there with the tactics. I say that, in that game we used the attacking tactics, so we're getting there with that one. With the standard one, we're still struggling. And even in this game, struggling to create chances. A 0-0 draw against Wolves, away from home, but still 3 points dropped. 2 points dropped even. For a little bit of good news, we are through the 3rd round of the FA Cup after beating Bournemouth. And thanks to a 92nd minute winner from Yves Bissouma, we are 1-0 winners in the 4th round as well against Newcastle. And in the Champions League, we finished off our fantastic form, beating Benfica 3-0. And drawing 2-2 away from home against Real Madrid, thanks to a 95th minute Brahim Diaz goal. We're showing on the European stage we can compete with pretty much anyone, and Spurs have that unbelievable run. They got to a final under Pochettino. Could we do the same? We've given ourselves a good chance. We're in the top 8, in fact, in 3rd place. We're skipping the knockout playoff round and going straight into the round of 16, which sounds good to me. It's time, though, for this season to really ramp up. There is 14 games left in the Premier League. We are now into the 5th round of the FA Cup. We are facing Bristol and obviously the round of 16 in the Champions League. So let's really get into this season. And while the month of February did start with some not great form, losing 3-1 to City, a 1-1 draw against Newcastle thanks to an 83rd minute Romero header, and a pretty woeful 1-0 loss to West Ham, I am confident that after this game, these tactics are fixed, and we have now 3 very strong tactics. And we're going to start off with tactic #1, which will look a little bit different to what you guys saw previously. We have a sweeper keeper on support in goal with pass it shorter, the inverted wing back on the right hand side on support with get further forward, close down more, the wing back on support on the left with close down more, with the 2 standard ball playing defenders. The right hand side one has got stay wider to cover off when Porro goes forward. We have our ball midfielder here on take fewer risks, and our DLP on stay wider and close down more. On the right hand side is a winger on attack, pass it shorter, cut inside, roam and close down more. With the left hand side, the inside forward on attack with pass it shorter, roam and close down more. An attacking midfielder on support, get further forward, roam from position and close down more, and tackle harder, very aggressive in there. And finally, a Trequartista up front on attack. Now, I love a Trequartista, and a lot of people think it's a very complicated role. It's basically a link-up striker that also acts as a bit of a poacher. and they score a ridiculous amount of goals. And this really was the piece in the main puzzle which got this formation ticking, and you're going to see some outrageous results from here to the end of the season. We are on a positive mentality. In position, it's standard, play out defence, focus play down the middle, and overlap left. One tick down on the passing directness and a standard tempo. Pass in space, work the ball into the box, low crosses, be more expressive. In transition, counter press and counter. Distribute to the centre backs, full backs, and take short kicks. And out of possession is a high defensive line, a high press system, triggering the press as much as possible and preventing this short goal distribution. You really are trying to press teams to absolute death. There is an attacking variation and a defensive variation that you guys can get your hands on the Patreon down below. They are exclusive over there. A massive thank you to the Patreon members that are running down the screen right now. You are absolute legends. You are helping make my dreams come true of making content. If you want access to these save files, like this Spurs save file, you'll pick up at the end of season 1, and these free fantastic tactics, that is all down below. Trust me, if you're doing a Spurs save, you need to get your hands on these. And if you like Postecoglu's high press system, well, these are the 3 perfect tactics for you. Link is down below. Let me just show you how good these tactics are going to be. First up was Aston Villa, and our first game with a new Trequartista up front. And you're going to see what this role can do. First off is a Pepe Mateta, an early goal in this one. And again, our high press system playing off again. Heung-min Son coming out of the high back of the defender, making it 2-0 in 43 minutes. Richarlison tries a long ball forward, doesn't quite work. It falls back to him on the left-hand side, and now he's inside forward in attack. He is much more aggressive. He drives to the byline and finishes home for 3-0. He then picks the ball yet again, finds Postecoglu overlapping on the left-hand side, finds Richarlison, and Basuma is there for 4-0. Remember, people, this is Aston Villa, a top 4 challenger who we are absolutely dispatching. A great ball there from Madison to find Heung-min Son for 5-0 in 84 minutes. We are not done. James Maddison on the ball yet again, driving at that almost scared Aston Villa defence. An own goal from Matty Cash makes it 6. And finally, Aston Villa are going to get himself on the score sheet. It's John McGinn coming back to Kamara. A good ball in. 6-1. Fine by me. We have absolutely shown Villa who the real team challenging for the top 4 is going to be. In this game, we had just 5 shots on target and scored 6 goals. We have created a clinical beast in the front 4. And we saw that even with the rotated side in the FA Cup as well. In the 5th round, a 4-1 victory against Bristol City. Maximilian Bayer, Romero, Madison, and Pedro Neto. An absolute smashing. Jamie Vardy has broken Spurs' hearts again, though. A 2-2 draw. A 92nd minute goal. Jamie Vardy, when are you going to leave Spurs alone? They should have won the title when Leicester won it. He's still there and he's still haunting Spurs. Next up, though, was Liverpool, and I was feeling so confident in this brand new formation that I kept it going for this game as well. We took an early lead thanks to a goal from Romero. Salah did equalise from the spot, though, to make this one 1-1. Coyote then found Brennan Johnson, who again has been fantastic this season. He whips the ball into Maxi Beer, a great header at the front post to make it 2-1. Liverpool are going to get back on level terms, though. Salah to the byline, beats his man, finds Rico Lewis on the edge of the box to make it 2-2. But we were going to grab the last laugh. Basuma driving through the middle, finds Brennan Johnson. The overlapping run through the middle, he doesn't need that. He's going to go alone and score a screamer. 3-2, a Brennan Johnson winner, and we have even gone and beaten Liverpool. We progress again in the FA Cup quarter-final, this time after beating Ipswich 2-1, which means we're into the semis, where we are going to be facing Chelsea, the team who beat 4-0 at the start of the season, with most likely Manchester City awaiting for us in the final if we beat Chelsea. But that is all to come. First of all, a 3-1 victory here against Fulham, thanks to goals from Heung-min Son, Richarlison, and James Maddison. Some great form for Spurs, and we are now back challenging, back into that top 4. We obviously dropped off massively thanks to our pretty awful form. Now everyone's back on the same games. We have got 55 points. We are just ahead of Newcastle and Villa. We are now set to chase down Arsenal, United, and City. And well, the month of April couldn't really have got off to a better start. We may have conceded early to Gabriel from a Arsenal corner, but that high press of Richarlison, 86th minute, Arsenal falling asleep, makes it 1-1. And you'll never guess what, we're going to grab a winner as well. Bentancur finds Basuma to find Bentancur again. A great ball to Johnson, heads it into Richarlison, and in the 90th minute, Spurs run away from the Emirates with all 3 points. Kulusevski got himself back on the score sheet after scoring a brace and us beating Palace 2-1. But next up was a Manchester United side challenging for the title with Manchester City, and in the 8th minute, Bruno Fernandes got him off to a great start. But this game is absolutely mental. We didn't score until the 96th minute, where Brennan Johnson found Richarlison to find James Maddison to put it past Andre Onana, and that was 96-26. In the 100th minute, in a normal game, James Maddison scores, and we beat Manchester United away from home thanks to a goal in the 101st minute. Absolutely mental scenes. And we finished the month off with a 1-1 draw against Brighton, who, by the way, are the next team we are rebuilding for one season. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel to get yourself ready for that Brighton rebuild. We have pulled away from 5th, 6th place, and we have got much closer now to United and Arsenal. After beating them both, they are in touching distance. City, yeah, they've won the league. Haaland scored 37 goals in 34 games so far. We'll leave them to it, but can we grab that 2nd place spot? I certainly think it's doable. But first up, some Champions League action and the round of 16 against AC Milan. Now this game, I'm very confused to what happened. We drew this game 3-3. We won the first leg 1-0. But for some reason it went to penalties. Now I don't quite know if I'm missing something, if I'm completely tripping, but I'm pretty sure away goals aren't a thing. And if they were, we'd won this game 4-3 anyway. And if away goals were there, I mean, away goal doesn't matter. It wasn't a draw. We won this game, but we had to go through penalties. I honestly don't know what's happened in the match engine here, but we're against AC Milan, and we are going to go to penalties. And it's quite good that this happened as well, because I believe if we didn't score again after them scoring in the 100th minute, us scoring here in the 120th, we'd have lost this game. I just don't understand why we've gone to penalties. That was 3-3. And we're now in penalties. I've got absolutely no idea why. I'm not going to show you all the penalties because sadly penalties are bugged on a Football Manager. I wish I could show them, but every single time you do them, you sort of don't really see the last penalty, and it makes no sense to what happened. We won the game. We won the game 4-2 on penalties. But as you can see here, aggregate 1-0 in the first leg, 3-3, but we went on penalties. Absolutely baffled, no idea what's happened. We've beat AC Milan. And next up was Atletico Madrid, a notoriously hard team to beat. And we've scored that goal a few times already this season. That short free kick taken in, and Romero pokes home from the header. He grabbed another one there to make it 1-0. But Atletico Madrid had made it 1-1 before an own goal in this one, coming off the back of Marcos Llorente, making it 2-1. And Atletico Madrid bouncing back yet again just before half-time. Molina down the right-hand side with the final goal of the game from Antoine Griezmann, which means we are taking it back to the Spurs stadium to see if we could get past Atletico Madrid. And another very unlucky own goal thanks to a shot off the post off the back of Oblak's head, making it a goal lead. Maddison scores to make it a 2-goal lead from the spot, and we are going to grab a third as well. Archie Gray, a great ball to Maxi Beer, a first-time volley. The youngsters linking up, a 3-0 win. We're going to the semi-finals. We'll be facing up against Liverpool. And the first leg was away from home against Anfield, which even more grabbed my shock when we took a 1-goal lead thanks to Brennan Johnson. And you can imagine my shock when we took a 2-0 lead as well, thanks to a ball from Bissouma to find Bentancur. Lovely one-touch play before Richarlison puts it past Alisson. A 2-goal lead we couldn't quite keep hold of going back to the Tottenham Hotspur stadium, but a 2-1 lead, I was confident we could win this tie. But I wasn't quite ready for the most dramatic game we have ever seen. Virgil van Dijk levels up the tie at 2-2 before we take the lead. Brennan Johnson finding Porro to find Heung-min Son to make it 3-2 on aggregate. We are going to go 4-2 ahead. A great ball from Brennan Johnson to find Richarlison, who cuts it back into Brennan Johnson again and eventually falls to Kulusevski to score to make it 4-2. And we are going to see a fifth as well as Romero scores. A 5-2 lead. Surely nothing can go wrong. We're at home, remember? I don't quite know what's going to happen here. Apart from a Spurs bottle. Salah scores from the edge of the box to make it 5-3. Gakpo whips one in, and Rafa Varane jumps up. Champions League Varane has left United. I'm livid. 5-4. Endo finds Curtis Jones to find Salah. 5-5. What is going on? I honestly have no idea. Salah is going to score again to make it 6-5, and Alvarez is going to score again. 7-5. The capitulation is real. In the 93rd minute, we are going to grab a goal back thanks to the young man Archie Gray, who picks up on the edge and scores a screamer. It wasn't enough. We've lost 7-6 in aggregate, conceded 4 goals in the second half, and we've well and truly Spursed it. We have bottled a Champions League semi-final, and we aren't going to be in that one for the final either, which is absolutely heartbreaking. So the only chance we've got of winning a trophy is the FA Cup. And it wasn't going to be easy because if you remember, the semi-finals was up against Chelsea, a team we have beat heavily in the start of the season, but also drew 0-0, so we didn't quite know how this game was going to go. Maddison scored to make it 1-0 early on before Chelsea put us back to 1-1 thanks to a goal from Christopher Nkunku. But in the 80th minute, that Spurs sort of high press and energy that we train week in, week out paid dividends. Brennan Johnson making it 2-1 with another pivotal goal for him. 3-1 is going to come in, starting with Mickey van der Ven to find Destiny Adoji beating his man on the left-hand side, cutting into Maxi Beer to make it 3-1. And a fourth as well, 93rd minute, some more high press winning it back from Maxi Beer, finds Pedro Neto dancing left and right, scores 4-1, and Spurs, well, we are going to a final. It is against Manchester City, the FA Cup final, but that's going to be after the last 3 games of the Premier League. And we're going to absolutely zoom through these because the form has been brilliant. We battered Southampton 3-1, Nottingham Forest 3-0, and finally Bournemouth 2-0 as well after playing a fully rotated side. And you can see here the form after that 1-0 loss to West Ham. The form we went on after changing the tactics to the brand new ones was absolutely mental. I cannot tell you guys enough how much you need to get yourselves a hand on these tactics. They are simply fantastic. Our standout performance this season, 19 goals for Richarlison, 16 for Heung-min Son, 13 and 9 for Kulusevski. Pedro Neto, 22 starts, 20 off the bench, 11 goals, 10 assists, perfectly managed, no injuries all season. Lovely stuff. Maddison, 11 and 8. Beer, 7 and 5 after 17 starts. Pretty good. And Brennan Johnson, 7 and 11 as well. Overall, all 3 tactics are fantastic, of course. If you just want to use the standard one, feel free to copy it off this video. But if you want the attacking variation and the defensive variations to give yourself all 3 tactics, they're available down below on the Patreon. The FA Cup final against City. Well, of course, it was 0-0. Why wouldn't it be 0-0 with a final for us? We scored early on, and so did they. And then we missed thanks to Yves Bissouma hitting the crossbar, and then City missed thanks to Kevin De Bruyne. Now, if I was to let this go on and on and on and show you every single one, we'd be here for absolutely hours. So I'm going to make these a lot quicker because there's a lot of penalties in this game. Get your comments in down below very quickly. What you reckon the score is going to be? We're going to sit here and talk over it. You can comment down below. There's lots of goals going in. There's so many. For Van der Ven misses, and then they missed one, which I didn't show. Again, the penalty bug is here yet again. More are going in. Vicario scores. Grant scores for them. Maddison scores. Haaland scores. Bissouma scores. It's not going to show the last penalty. It was De Bruyne again missing from the spot. He missed 2 penalties in a penalty shootout. And we win 11-10 of penalties. Spurs are winners of a cup yet again. We are winners of the FA Cup. Away the Spurs. Absolutely massive. Thank you so much for watching. We have made Spurs champions, FA Cup champions. If you want to pick up this save and the reboot file, it's all down below on the Patreon. Thank you so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll speak to you next time.